Hey, everybody. This is Don, and here we are again, talking about things that really matter with you, who really matters. Talking about things that really matter for your success. And I've got a very special, fun friend and guest on today because Miss Amy Maib is here, and Amy and I worked together. And I don't even know. I think I heard 2006, but let's just say it's been some years, and she can fill us in on the details. But I'm very excited because we have a chance to, in fact, let me share I'll do this so we get a better view. And I'm just excited because this woman was representing Hobbs when we were doing personal branding and marketing at the highest levels. And we were making the biggest agents in the whole world of real estate. And when, success was, I don't know, $20 million a year, we had people doing 30, 50, $80 million a year. And this woman was out in real estate offices selling those courses, our programs, and the things that we did. And then later she got into real estate. So I want to talk about what she's done, how it's worked, why it's worked. Amy, thank you for being here. I'm so happy to see you. So excited to have you here.
I am thrilled. Anytime I have the opportunity to chat with you is a blessing. So thank you for asking me. I'm honored.
It is my pleasure. We had a chance to have a little, I think a snack and a drink, but something like that in Dallas earlier this year. When you're listening to this is during COVID crackdown, and that was before COVID crackdown, and was one of our last free acts before we got into this craziness. How are you doing?
Oh gosh, I'm hanging in there just like everybody else. I live in Central Washington State, and we were one of the hotbeds for a long time here in Yakima. We have never made it out. Well, they gave us a little buy around 4th of July. They said, we'll take you from phase 1 to phase 1.5, which seemed to be a phase they made up for a few of the counties here in Central Washington to keep us from going to other counties. So it's been tough.
Yeah, I know it has for everybody. You're with KW, you're in Yakima Valley, Washington State. You started in real estate there 6 years ago.
Yes, 6 years ago. The Keller Williams office wasn't here at that time, so I started out with just a small boutique office, and I've been with KW for 2 years.
So let's go back, because let's talk about that fun time. So we go back to, I think you said 2006. Is that accurate?
Yes, I remember. It was January of 2006.
So you came to work. You didn't know anything about the real estate space. I mean, let's go back and talk about what you knew. I mean, maybe you did. I don't think you did.
Well,
what was your real estate past?
I had been selling billboard advertising, and everybody knows it. If you're a realtor, you've been approached by it. The grocery carts and the walls at the grocery store. And I started selling that in 2000. So for about 5 years, kind of off and on with that. And I remember sitting in the grocery store parking lot of an Albertsons in Auburn, Washington, and it had rained for 30 days in a row. And I was just like, I can't take this anymore. And I jumped on to salesjobs.com, found a posting for Hobbs Herder. Next thing you know, I'm flying to Nashville to meet Rhonda Formby and get started as a marketing director. So it was awesome.
The next thing you know, Jed's a millionaire, right? That was a fun time. That was really fun. And then we started having you out in the field, and she was going into real estate offices and teaching personal branding, personal marketing. And by the way, at that time, I mean, this wasn't like it was new at that time, but the agents were still in floor time. There was still, like, if you look back at what was going on at that time, a lot of floor time, still newspaper, magazine ads. I mean, I'm sure there are still some, I don't see them as much, but Harmon Homes and Land, a lot of the traditional things that had kind of come down all the way really from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, it was still the same way. There's been some changes, so we'll talk about that. But when you came into the business, we were talking about how agents just didn't control their business because they were so at the cause of somebody, or at the effect of somebody else's cause, right?
Right.
What was the biggest aha that you had when you were there and then, you know, you eventually you got into real estate. So what was the biggest aha that you had, and why did that motivate you to get into the real estate business itself?
Well, once I started seeing how the majority of realtors kind of ran their business and it was not running it like a business, it was more like a hobby. And, you
Yeah.
know, they'd get into it because they liked people and houses. And I mean, we were right there in the bubble. Well, we were at the beginning of the end of the bubble, right? I
Right.
clearly remember telling people this is a once in a lifetime thing. It's never going to happen again. Start to prepare now. And, yeah, so it was a little bit of a crazy time, but there were people who were just like, you know, able to survive because business was flowing so easily. But they were doing nothing to really create a brand or create an image. They were just, you know, their business underneath the umbrella of XYZ Realty or whatever it was. And just another, you know, I remember saying oftentimes, you know, what's the difference? You all look the same. You all sound the same. You all do the same thing. Why are any of you any different? So I
Well,
knew that when I came to Yakima, Washington, because I came here for a call once, you know, I came to present to the agents at, I think, the John L. Scott office. I thought, they're still doing things the old fashioned way. And if I
right.
ever moved back there, gosh, I could really do well. So,
Well, how's that worked out for you? So you got into real estate, you moved to Yakima Valley,
yeah,
and started in real estate 6 years ago. So
yeah.
talk about what you did. Let's talk about, you know, you saw people not running a business. So you've got, first of all, a business mindset. You see that. You know that there are people that are really struggling to see it as a business, act as business people, make business decisions, right? They're still waiting for something to happen. They're doing the same old stuff. They're knocking on doors. They're pounding the phones, calling expires. I mean, there's nothing wrong. That all works.
Sure.
That all works. But what was the biggest difference, you know, between what you did and what they were doing? And well, let me ask you, because I have my thought about it, but what was the biggest difference between the way they normally thought and the way you were acting in terms of your procedure, your decisions, your choices related to marketing?
Well, when I got my license, I hung my license at a small boutique office, and I cut the owner of the office was kind of a relative of my former husband, so I knew her a little bit. And I knew that she would let me do anything I wanted with my marketing, create a brand, you know, have my name, the big, you know, focus on the business card or a personal brochure or what have you. Because here in town, there were just the big name offices and they were not doing any of that. So I went to her, and her business model was that she paid for leads from Zillow or Realtor or what have you,
Oh,
which allowed me to start selling some transactions or getting some clients under contract, which gave me income, which then right away I went into creation of personal brochure, you know, letterhead, everything match, right? Your letterhead matches your personal brochure, which matches your business card, which matches your postcards, everything the same with that
website,
brand
the whole
logo.
deal. Yeah, yeah.
So I guess the logo and the slogan were kind of the first things I came up with, and then built from that. And nobody had ever seen a personal brochure. I mean, nobody was doing that here in Yakima. So I even had a owner of an office here in town call and say, she needs to stop leaving that. She's trying to steal my clients. And at the time, I was leaving them in his listings. At the time, I was specializing in buyers. I'm like, I'm not trying to steal your clients. Trust me. So right away, I was kind of like, whoa, what's she doing? This is different. And I never ran Little Head, Little House magazines, as I've always referred to them. You know, I never did those types of advertisements. Anytime I ever spent money on advertising, it was always just a brand, like branding ads, you know. Because I wanted to really focus in on a group of people, and that group of people for me were people who love animals and support animal rescue, maybe vegans or vegetarians, healthy lifestyle people, because that's who I am. And I've got 4 rescue pups and a cat, and I'm crazy about animals. I'm the one who you're driving down the road with and you go, oh, look, a little baby bird over there, so but I knew that I wanted to do something that would differentiate myself as well. So I started right out of the gate with donating a portion of my commission to an animal rescue or shelter in my client's name. And so the marketing, the advertising, the pieces that came out then reflected in anything that I did that was sponsoring an event, or if I did run, we're a wine and beer kind of community here. People come here to drink wine, kind of like a Napa, Sonoma. Mm-hmm. And so I would advertise just a branding ad in those kind of magazines, never expecting anybody to call me and say, hey, come list my house because I saw your ad in the, visitor guide. But, they've seen my name, they've heard my name, they've seen my social media. Gosh, I see you all the time. You must be good. Can you come list my property? And that's really where it came from and how it started pretty much almost immediately.
That's awesome. So let's go back. I want to talk about the big picture of that because, today I see agents that are doing what your broker was doing, which was, buying Zillow leads or some aggregator. It doesn't matter if it's Zillow or, what brand they buy, they're buying leads. Yep. And the difference between that, and I go back, this is funny because I was thinking the other day that I go back to when you're talking about home ads and little, what did you call them? Little house ads with the agent, little agent pictures.
Little house, little head.
Okay, yeah, there you go. So that was that era, and it was into the 2000s all the way probably into 2010ish before the internet really took off and we saw a lot of Zillow taking over. But what was interesting is it was always about the house, and the advertising is always about the house. Mm-hmm. And we've got the consumer trained. You find a house, and in the case of most ads, it's going to be then the agent comes along with it by accident. Call in the house, get the agent by accident. Call in the house, get the agent by accident. In the case of some of the kinds of brands that you can get in Zillow, Premier and stuff, I could call in a house, not even get the agent who listed it, could get the agent who paid the most money to, be listed as the Premier agent, right? So it's like, I don't even get it, but the decision is the house. And we, as an industry, we've told the consumer, we're unimportant. It's all about finding the house. And then whoever comes along is kind of interchangeable body parts. The reality is it doesn't make any difference because we're the same old, right?
Right. That's what we told them.
So the other part that I want really people to get from this is that, I always broke it into 4 parts, and I say, there's number one, there's always this, what's the target market? The first thing you got to make a decision about, what's the target market? And then along with that, and it's either a first or second decision, but it's like, what's the strategy? What am I trying to be? Who do I want to be? I remember when Gary Vee spoke for NAR a couple of years back, and he talked about becoming the digital mayor of your town. Well, again, in essence, what's the strategy for doing that? Or what's the strategy for building the brand that you built, right? People think in terms of what's the postcard you sent, or what's the thing that you did, or what's the ad that you ran, or and it's not that, it's the strategy, it's the big picture. Yes?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I never have ever worried about any marketing dollars that I've spent. And from the beginning, I think my marketing budget was, even when my first year, when I didn't have a closed transaction, I established a business plan and a marketing plan. And I think my marketing budget was like 15% of my goal that I thought I wanted to make for the year. So I knew I was going to be spending money. And that's, I think, one of those big mistakes that most people get into, well, not most, but a lot, when they open a business, and a real estate business is a business, they don't have some money in the bank to open that business. And it's just like, wow, how are you even functioning right now? Because if you were going to open a bakery, you wouldn't do it without any money, or, clothing store. So
right on.
Have money. You got to have some funds. So I just, knew that anything that I spent money on as far as advertising or marketing or branding was just to get my name in front of people. And I'm in a, community of 100,000 people, but 50% of the people in my community speak Spanish. And I don't do any advertising in Spanish because I don't speak Spanish, but, it's just always been that mindset of you have to be out there get your name in front of people, get your brand in front of people over and over and over and over and over. Because like right now, when the market, I wouldn't say my market necessarily has shifted. It's changing a little bit, but I think it's just price. The prices that are going to shift a little bit. I think we'll still have a strong seller's market here, but I knew that one day that market would change. And if you are the one who is at the top of someone's mind because they've seen you and they've heard your name and they, see your billboards or what have you, then they go, well, I'm not going to get somebody, we better go with somebody good. We better call somebody who must be good. And I see this Amy everywhere. She's got to be good.
She's got to be good, right? That's the key. That's what we miss. Yep, exactly. Well, again, we'll go back and we go, first decision is more the strategic, the big picture. Target becomes a part of that. Your target is the rescue, a kinship, if you will, to people that have that heart for animals. They're going to automatically love supporting you, supporting also the causes that you have. And of course, I love the fact that you were donating money from the very beginning towards their cause, which is also cool because it doesn't restrict you to my cause, right? Yeah. It just means that we're in business together. We're going to give something up and do something for the community. So there's this first two pieces. Then it comes down to the third part is the tools. And this is where most agents start. They go, what are the tools I need to be using? I bought a website. I've got, postcards. I've got a whatever. But those things are all driven from the strategy and from the target, right?
Right.
And so you had that. So talk about then the translation. What did you start doing? What was the driver of your marketing campaign? What did you do? You were a billboard. You were a billboard sales, person, if you will, before. So what were the things that you first chose, and then how's that evolved? Let's talk about that.
Well, one of the things that I really wanted to make a big kind of splash, if I could, was that personal brochure that I created right away. And so what I would do is I would send out, every time I closed a transaction, I would send out my personal brochure to a radius around that house. We don't have here in town, we don't have like little neighborhoods of, this is, the Grand Estates neighborhood, and this is the such and such neighborhood. So I really utilized my personal brochure to help sell the story of who I was as a person. And kept those people, once they were captured from that first initial, radius mailer, kept those people on with other little mailers and other little flyers and drips. So I've always believed in direct mail. Maybe not.
So
maybe
old school, Amy. You're so old school. You're so old school. No, I'm not knocking. I'm laughing because I laugh and go, God, guys, old school has become new school. It's like it works.
Absolutely. Works. And when you tie that in with your social media, which I am such a empath, like I suck in everything from social media. So if you're scrolling and, there's sad stories and mad stories, it's like, oh, I can't do it anymore. But, they have a lot of tools now that will help you program in your social media. And so I've been using social media now. Gosh, I think actually today, I think is my 12th year of joining Facebook. And so I've been on social media for a long time, and, using it with videos. That was one thing that I started doing. I did 50 transactions with buyers before I ever took a listing. And I really think that helped me have tremendous insight into what I could, what I needed to say to my sellers, and be like, hey, this is what they're looking for. If you're not doing this, this, and this, and this, then they're going to pass your house by. So I had that good knowledge and that good insight. And then right away, I started making listing videos and putting them on YouTube. And then, for a while there, Facebook changes everything all the time, right? Their little, not just their algorithm, but the page is suddenly different, and you run this way. And so, just when you think you've got it figured out, they change it on you. But I've, had a YouTube channel for years, and, I like to do Facebook Live because not a lot of people are doing it in my community. And, you know, when people started having to do it because of COVID, I was like, well, I'm super comfortable at that. But you could see the agents who were like, you know, so I used that to my advantage when I went to a couple listing presentations. I was like, hey, I've been doing this for a while. Check out my 100 videos here, you know? So it was successful that way too.
Well, your social media, the one thing I want to follow back up, because you mentioned that if Facebook changes both their algorithms and their policies, right? Just different things change. And the one thing that's really interesting, and I don't think most agents give this a thought, and that is we're using other people's platforms. And if they make changes, we're screwed, right? Yeah. We really are at the mercy of a free Facebook, a free Instagram, a free. And if they change because it's not making them money, what does that do to you? So I do want to mention to people, because what I love about your direct mail, what I love about the ways that you were talking about so many of the aspects besides social media. And again, I'm a huge believer in social media, a huge believer in video and all that. It's absolutely where we have to go, pushing everybody in my coaching clients always to video. And we don't know when YouTube's going to change what they do, and then suddenly we don't have that access. So we got to keep the connection to the human beings that we want to do business with. It's our target market. It's knowing who they are, appealing to them, and then having some tools that move to them. And again, you know, I just had some clients that did kind of a campaign like you would have had, personal brochures, some of the cool tools, right? And within the first week that they had them, they were getting results from, because it's just like, you know, where do you pass out a business card that people go, it's a business card, but you hand them something that's more impressive and they go, wow, this is incredible. Nobody that we've met has one of these. And it's like instantly you start to separate yourself, right, from the crowd. And that's what you've done so well up there. Now you've also done a remarkable job, you know, with your social media, linking it. And this is the key. If you know who your target market is, then what you're videoing, what you're doing in your videos equates to that, right? It's for that target market. It's not just general videos, just being seen, all that stuff. It's really about the target markets that you're after. So talk about how you've linked that. What have you done to bring video in dogs and your rescue and the heart for that you have into your presentation?
So on Facebook, I utilize Yakima's Rescue Realtor as like my Instagram handle. I think Yakima's Rescue Realtor. And I, you know, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I get a lot of phone calls from people who say, I found this dog, I have this cat, I don't know what to do, where can I go with it? And it just happened last Friday. I'm driving down the road and there's this adorable little dog in the road on 40th, which is a busy street. And so I scoop it up, go home immediately from my business Facebook page, take a couple cute photos, do a Facebook Live, and then boost that ad out, help me find the owner to this dog. So it's my real estate Facebook page, but it also says Yakima's Rescue Realtor on there. So that was shared like, I don't know, before we found the dog's owner right away, but it was shared like 50 times before I had to stop it. And so I'm like, okay. And then I get, you know, people who then know me again, you know, it's just that repetition. So I like that when that happens, because then they can connect the dog part of it to the real estate part of it. And I will always go on to someone's social media page if I can after I've made the donation in their name, and link, you know, to all their friends so that all their friends can see, you know, hey, thank you for helping me sell your house. I made the donation of $1,000 to the Yakima's Humane Society in your name, you know. So any little way that I can get that in is what I'm going.
Perfect connections. It's like tie-in. It's keep it going, move it, right? And agents are doing stuff, but it's unrelated. They've got one of these, they do a little of that, they do some of this, some of that. Where's the connection? Where's the target market? Where's the linkage? Where's the slogan, the logos? Where's the stuff that makes up the branding, the marketing? Where is all that stuff? And what I love about you is you just connected all those dots. So the results, let's talk about it. The last couple of years, you've been kind of getting some notoriety. You've been scaling the wall. You've been climbing the ladder of success. So how's it working out?
Well, you know, it's funny because I have always been the type of person that I try not to think about the money part of the business that's going to come my way, like the commission or anything like that. Or, it was only, I think, last year that I ever looked at GCI and tried to like figure out and, make my calculations. Cause I've always been the type of person like, oh, I want to close, 50 transactions this year. Or I want to close 45, whatever for my market. And that's been fine. I've hit those numbers and blown them away. Last year I was my first full year at Keller Williams, and I had a teammate, and we ended up as the 17th team in our region, which was pretty cool. We got, a little bit of notoriety and the big thing. And then I was also asked to be on a panel at the Keller Williams family reunion. So that was exciting. And I figure, no one ever came to me and said, hey, we want you on this panel because of blah, blah, blah. They just asked me to be on. And I said, yes. Because who didn't want to do that, even though I was nervous. But, I guess that's a reflection of the job that we did and the income that we made and all that sort of stuff. So, this year has been slightly different. My licensed assistant who was on my team, I guess I trained her just like I was supposed to. She said to me in late February, I would like to fly from the nest and go build my own nest. And I said, go little bird, go. That's, what I'm here for, to train you and help you fly out of the nest. But I think it was kind of bad timing on her behalf because, 3 weeks later, here we are, COVID. But I just thought, gosh, what am I going to do? Should I replace her? And I decided to just wing it by myself for this next go around. And I do have an administrative assistant, but business has been great. I think in March, this past month, I'm closing 8 transactions, but just this week I wrote $1 million in business cash. So that was kind of cool.
That's cool. So talk about the last couple of years, since you just kept keeping up with GCI. Where have you been the last, either GCI or just transactions? I'm not tell us how much money you're making, but what does that equate to? You were doing 50 buyer sides, and before you ever moved into selling. What kind of volume or what kind of numbers are you running right now? And again, I'm not saying this year because it's been weird, but we'll catch up with this year. Like last year, where were you?
Well, I did 65 transactions last year, and I was just about 50 buyer seller, which was weird. Okay. Normally I'm more heavy on the buyer side. But it just worked out that way. And I'm fine with that. I made way too much money last year. This is an industry. If you can do it right, you can make a lot of money and you can have your own life. And you can, as long as, like I told the gal I was talking to earlier, set your boundaries right from the get-go,
Bam.
If you want to have, Wednesdays off every week, then tell people that I don't work Wednesdays. For me, it's Sundays, which blows some people's mind in real estate that I don't work Sundays. But I've just always said, hey, I take Sundays off and these are my business hours. And people go, okay. So, it's real estate has really been a blessing, and I've made a lot of money, and pray God it keeps coming in, but I give a lot of money away. And I think that's, in my mind, that's one of the reasons why it keeps coming to me.
Exactly. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy when I see what you're doing. Now, you also got some special recognition from your the newspaper. So talk about what was that all about? Because you're doing something right now that I want to get to, and I want to talk about maybe the last couple of years. So what's happened?
Yeah. So the local newspaper a few years ago started doing kind of a best of, the best
massage therapist, best ice cream.
Yeah. And for 2 years running, I have been the best realtor in Yakima. And that was really cool. That was really cool. 3 years ago, I guess I was in the top 4, and then I was number one. So I can't imagine what I'm going to be this year. If well, it's postponed right now. They're not doing any voting right now, but
Is that right?
I'm hopeful that it'll be 3 years running because it's just a nice little thing, you know. I mean, I just like it.
Well, I was bragging about, well, I mean, first of all, it's good publicity, right? If you're going to get publicity
Yeah,
of that kind, it's just great. Like, how do we know we've got a great realtor? The newspaper says she's a great realtor. I
that's
mean, it's like,
right. That's
that's
right.
a great way to go. This year, you're doing something really cool. And I know that we talked about it a few weeks ago, and I was like, now that's what I'm talking about. That's some serious moves. But it's really powerful to listen to how you're translating because you keep escalating. And I truly believe, Amy, I want to encourage you, and I want to encourage everybody listening, because when you are becoming a dominant force in an area, when you're becoming that dominant force, you have the possibility to become more dominant, to put your foot on the neck of the competition and crush them. And I don't mean that in a bad way. We love our competition, but I'm saying from a competition standpoint, when you've got advantages that they don't have, that's where you get further ahead, right? You keep doing what they can't do.
Right.
What are you doing right now? What's your current campaign that you've just launched?
Do you mean this little guy right here?
Oh yeah. Look at you. How funny. I didn't catch it the whole time.
13
Wow.
billboards across Yakima. This is a little mini version they sent me. Isn't that cute?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really cool. I
So
wish I had one of those.
it's really fun because you know, I have a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, I drive by you every day. I see you all over town. You look so beautiful. That must be awesome. You know, it's just, and that's, you know, that's great because that's what I wanted it to do. I just want people to see it over and over and over and over. And then at some point in time, that's in their mind, you know, Amy Maib, Amy Maib, Amy Maib. You know, this is what this is a version of my business card. You know, my business card is my name, and I've got my company logo just, you know, right here. But
Right.
that's what I
The
want
biggest
people
thing on
to
your
know.
card is you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very powerful, and you know, I told a few people about what you're doing, and there's some markets where you can do that. I mean, anybody watching this or listening to it is not going to be able to go to, you know, Orange County, California, and put up 13 billboards in town unless they've got a sizable budget.
Yeah.
But you were in a smaller town, a smaller market, and with that, again, what I always tell people is they don't look at the possibilities because they assume things are out of their range, not possible. But when you get into small markets, owning a small market, honestly, is easier than owning a huge chunk of a big market because there's so many more options. You see my kitty back here, by the way.
Yeah.
Hi, Eddie. But what's really powerful is that you're using that, and 13 billboards. So here's what I said to you, and I want to promise you, and I'm going to tell. It's so funny watching Eddie pass through. So powerful because I really want people to get this. I promise you, a year from now, 2 years from now, Amy, probably 3 and 4 years from now, you're going to have people, because you're not running this forever, right? You're going to run it for a specified time frame, right? You're going to have people in 3 years, 4 years, and they're going to go, God, we see your signs all over the place. I mean, we see you all the time. And they're going to have no idea that you've been gone off those billboards for all that time because in the mind, you already bought the space.
Yeah.
Right? You've already bought that space.
That's the goal, you know, that's where I started.
Yep.
6 years ago. I knew that I kind of jokingly say, I don't have to be the number one realtor in town. I just want to be the best known realtor in town. And I also say, I don't have to be number one, but I also don't want anybody to beat me. So, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I remember you're a competitor. I know you're a competitor for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about just the final thoughts here. I've got, I want to make sure we get some of your best stuff, but you know, it's remarkable to see what you've been doing. I love that you said, set your boundaries, a really big, powerful part. By the way, setting boundaries is probably one of the most important things. I remember starting up a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine. I started him in real estate and I said, you tell me what hours you want to work and I'll help you set the business plan for that. It's not about the hours that you work. And what he said was, well, they tell me it's going to be a lot of evenings and weekends. And what you've, just got flown in the face of is that it doesn't have to be weekends. It could be anytime. I get to take off when I want to take off. I work the hours that I want to work, and I decide that. And then you build a plan around it. You build a business around that. The other thing that you've done so well, and I love the fact that you're getting these come list me's, because that's something most agents can't relate to. They can't relate to what it's like to have the freedom and the power of come list me. Come list me. Come, hey, we see you everywhere. Come list our property. Come sell us. What does it do for you? What does it do for you? Like when you walk in and they've called you to list the property, they've never met you before, but they've seen you everywhere. Yeah. How much negotiation power do you have? How much pricing power do you have? Talk about that and what the difference is between what you see other agents going through and what you're doing.
Well, I always, one of the things I say when I'm with clients and seller clients in a seller consult, it inevitably comes out of my mouth. I said, I don't have a big dog and pony show here to bring you or show you, I'm not bringing, slideshow projection, I'm coming with, basically, I'm telling them a story of who I am and how I'm going to figure out the amount that their house should be worth, and I mean, I don't know. I think when I do a seller consult, I show up and I'm ready to just take the listing right then and there. Usually that's the kind of situation it is. They've called me and said, come over and list the property. How much do you think it'll go for? When can we list it? And they don't even ask me how much I charge in commission.
Hello. That's what I want people to understand, Amy, is that you overcome all the objections. Yeah. They're not going to negotiate with you on price, on your price, on the price. You're the expert. Yeah. The thought in their mind is, whatever it is you do to sell all these properties, whatever it is you do that makes you so successful, do that for us.
Yeah.
Right? Do that for us. And guys and gals, listen as Amy's talking about this, because that is something that most of you have never experienced. Most of you have to go negotiate. You're going to go up against 3 or 4 other people. Are you first in? Are you last in? All the strategies. What if your strategy was build a brand such that they just called you and said, you're the only one. You're not first, you're not last, you're it.
Yeah.
Come and get it, right?
God, those feel good. Oh.
Doesn't it feel good? It gives you the little chill bumps. Yeah, exactly. So I love that, and I wanted to kind of talk about that control, because again, it also has to do with when you come from that position of strength, you also get to feel more comfortable with your boundaries, right? That saying I'm not working on Sundays, or I'm not working on Wednesdays, or I'm not working on evenings, or I don't do whatever. All right, we got it. This is welcome to the world of COVID, right? We've got everybody living here. Babies are running up to executives. I have meetings with executives, and their little kids are running up in the middle of a really important meeting. I'm like, welcome to our world now, right?
I know the dog wants out, but
super fun. Well, listen, I'll let you go so you can let him go, and we'll handle that. But I want people to hear the control that you have over a business when you run it as a business. And the first thing that makes a business operate is the marketing part. Yes. And what I love about what you did is you decided, you made choices. And I talked about there were 4 parts. There's that target and strategy that comes first. And then there becomes that next level, which is the tools. So your brochure, your postcards, your mailings, your website, the things that you're doing, your social media, those are all tools. Yep. The tools don't make you or break you. The tools are the execution part. And then the final part is execution, which is how much, how many, how often, right? That's that stuff.
Yep.
Most of us get hung up on, I'm looking for a tool. I'm going to use Instagram, and I'm going to go crazy on Instagram. And it's like, but what about the rest of it? What's the whole picture look like?
Yeah.
What does your brand look like?
All over the map. To some people, it might seem messy, but the messier, the better sometimes when you're trying to reach everyone,
Can't do it.
I guess I just wanted to say too, before we wrap up, because there's, a lot of people right now who might be new and, maybe they were being told, before COVID hit that the floor time and the open houses and the door knocking and all that was, the tried and true way. And there's a lot of people who feel that, marketing is too expensive. But my business is not slowing down. And I know a lot of people who really have suffered during this last few months, because how are you going to cold call, door knock, and sit open houses when you can't do anything? So
Can't do it.
it's really any other business would, you know, they have a marketing plan and a business plan, and they don't copy the same business plan and the same thing that their competition does. That's only realtors. So don't do that.
You're right on. No, absolutely. I love that. I'm glad you came back and said that, because I think that's really a huge piece of this. Is we've got to just really see ourselves as different. We've got to create a distinction between us and the masses. And you're in a town of 100,000 people. How many agents do you have?
We have in our MLS about 400, but only about 200 are local to our market. We have a lot of people that come in.
Yep, because you've got some other cities that are very close. So 400 agents to choose from. We just moved from Austin, Texas. We had 14,000 realtors in Austin. So, you know, your marketplace is like, how do you stand out? And Amy, you're standing out. I mean, I love the billboards. Honestly, one of my favorite things that you've ever done. I'm just so excited about it. I know, vote for Amy, vote for Amy. So when we get back to the voting, right, we're gonna like,
I know,
gonna make you number one again, which is gonna do nothing but success perpetuates success. We've got to get people in motion. And I love what you just said too about the COVID, because I know we're looking for silver linings, and we don't even know where this is going to end up, right? We don't know how this is going to continue. We don't know any of that stuff. And somebody's going to watch this 2 years from now and go, what the hell are they talking about? Anyway, I'm sure everybody will remember this moment. But what what you just said is so powerful, is it might be the best thing that jogs people out of doing what everybody has done to stay broke and average, and move them into a place where they start doing something that's unique, different, and appropriate given what we have access to today. And I think that's a great inspiration. I think you're a great inspiration, actually. I just think I really wanted to do this because I'm so proud of you, knowing that you came out of a space where you were not in real estate. You taught realtors how to be successful. You watched them being successful. You go, I can do that. And you moved into it, took it over. And 6 years later, we're talking to a great success story. And it hasn't been like 6 years to get there. Every year you've knocked it out of the park. So I'm really proud. I'm excited for you. Can't wait for your next chapter and that constant evolution, and can't wait to see what the results are going to be from your 13 billboards all over the city streets of Yakima Valley. So it's really awesome. Anyway, keep up the good work, my dear. You're a star. You've always been a star. You shine bright. I look forward to hearing more stuff. Maybe we'll do an update sometime. In the meantime, any final closing thoughts? Any one word of inspiration? One 6-year reflection back on, like, what's the thing that everybody needs to remember?
I would just say, don't be afraid to be different than anybody else in your office. If they think you're crazy, you're doing the right thing. And once they start copying you, then you know you're doing the right thing.
Bam. And I'm going to say, I'm going to add to that and say, play big, be big. Come in bold and come in big, right? It's absolutely the case. You've done that. Thanks, girl. You take care of yourself. Amy Maib, Yakima Valley. Talk to you later. Love you too. Take care. Bye.